Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
And yes, of course, let me remind everybody to please share, like, subscribe, press the bell icon, all that, and support. Questions on the screen, please. Ninad. Question for Abhijit. As we know, these farm protests are hijacked by the left. What, according to you, Modi should do now and how he can neutralize this?
So if you remember when we did our Jaipur Dialogues session about the Delhi riots and about Kashmir, I keep repeating this and I'm going to repeat it again. The game is always to never let the crowd accumulate in one place. If you prevent them from accumulation or from congregation, you have already won. Once they have congregated, they have already won. So round one, they have won. You mismanaged your intelligence. It was a massive intelligence failure. It was a massive law and order failure that you prevented them from, that you couldn't prevent them from congregating, number one. Now that they have congregated, you have no solution other than the use of force. And this government, let us be absolutely clear, is not going to use force. And what is going to happen is over a period of time, this is going to drag on for another 2-3 months at least, till something happens like, COVID ended Shaheen Bagh. Once this stretches on, the propensity for violence grows because the more and more entrenched you get, the higher and higher the chances of violence. So जैसे शाहीन बाग सीलमपुर राइट से शुरू हुआ था और दिल्ली राइट्स में खत्म हुआ, खत्म तो नहीं हुआ पर हुआ, इसका भी कुछ होने वाला है. आप देखते रहिए, पर ये सब बैठ के भाषण देते रहेंगे मित्रों, वासुदैव कुटुंबकम, ऐसे ही होते रहेगा. He does not have the guts to neutralize this, and you've made the mistake of giving them concessions which should have never been given. But you've done what you have. Next, Kapil Chauhan.
Sir, is it true that Jews in late 1940s researched about Bhagavad Gita and shaped their foreign policy and approach for their enemies?
I've never heard about this.
Okay, next. Tushar, brilliant discussion. Could you suggest books which discuss the decimation of pagans by Christians in Rome?
So yes, there are several books that you can read. One of the things you could do is you can start looking at Gibbon's own book, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. Start looking at it. It will show you a lot of the instances that it happened. You can also go to Yuval Harari's Sapiens and go through the references of where he mentions this. So he's got 5-6 references out there. Of course, for me, the stock standard reference is to always go back to Gibbon for everything Rome. Next question.
Okay, next question. Actually, I will be Antardhyan for some time because my camera needs recharging. So I will be in what is called invisible mode, but I am fully alive to the situation. So don't worry about it. Subramanyam, hi Abhijit, means to say big fan of yours. Why can't India build clout in US, its allies using Israel? The way Indian diplomacy works with its NRIs is appalling too.
I agree. We have never weaponized our NRIs the way Israel has. But what do? Because see, do you remember when the Kenyan, the Ugandan Indians were kicked out by Idi Amin? India never wanted them back. Britain took them all back. Right? So India has this very stepmotherly attitude towards the NRIs. And the NRIs are also, social climbers, most of them, about 75% of them. All the Joe Biden voters are social climbers. They are not worth using for anything. They won't come through. I've seen it with my own family. They don't give a damn about what Joe Biden is going to do to India. They're more concerned about virtue signaling in their jobs. Even when I've proven to them Donald Trump hasn't lied about certain things, they'll be like, you're just apologizing for him. Fine, give me facts. Nahi, kuch nahi. So, you forget about NRIs. They are not really usable in that sense. 25% are. We don't use it. But yeah, you are, dekho, America in 1962, India-China war, they were willing to come defend you against China. 9 years later, in 1971, they were ready to send their fleet against you, the 7th Fleet against you, in collusion with China. Till few years back, UAE couldn't stand Israel, and Saudi Arabia and Israel were in a state of war. Today, for all effects and purposes, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Israel are de facto allies. You look at the way Israeli ministers, and within 5 days of recognition, 5 weeks of recognition, they've enacted a visa-free regime for each other. ये कभी तुमने देखा ही है? They're openly hugging, kissing each other, and they're like so Palestine. You don't have the diplomatic wherewithal. See, you are a third world country. Accept that. A third world country isn't just half-naked, poor people, starving people living in huts. It means that even your elite has an extremely low human capital. And that is what you're seeing with our diplomats. Just because they wear suits and talk English doesn't mean they're smart. But that is what it is. Next.
Okay, one more information for you. Now we have to, we've introduced one more feature that we have to shortlist some questions, which will be then put in front to the guest who will choose the best question. And the guy who wins the best question award gets a book. So I will request you also, if you find a good question, please say that. Otherwise, I will also shortlist a few questions. Ninad Shirsagar, Chhatrapati Shivaji and Sambhaji always addressed Aurangzeb and Muslims and Turk and Milichas. This is false propaganda that they were so-called secular. Sambhaji, in fact,
I
destroyed
disagree with that. Sambhaji, maybe I've not seen that with Shivaji, but do provide me with the references. Yes, Sambhaji, I agree with you, but not Shivaji. Show me the references. I could be wrong, but Turks is a very common term. Turks isn't a derogatory. In Tamil, we call them Tulken, which is the R becomes L, but it's basically calling somebody Turk. In Bengali, stupid is interchangeable with Uzbek. We call stupid people Ujbuk, which means Uzbek, basically.
Okay.
So, so that doesn't actually connote anything. Please understand, you're trivializing Ninad, you're trivializing a very serious discussion out here. Don't do that. And you're missing the woods for the trees. Don't do that. Next.
Right. Can salience be developed without government support? If so, how?
Of course it can. The thing is, you then force the government to act to your salience. But तुम्हारा खुद का salience नहीं है. So what are you going to force the government to do? The government isn't even going to listen to you because you don't have any options. If you're a Hindu today, your only option, if Hinduism matters to you today, your only option is BJP. You're stuck in a monopoly situation. You have nothing to threaten the BJP with. So what are you going to do? So it is possible to develop salience outside of the government, but it is not possible to implement it outside of the government. Okay, and that is where you need the government. This is what you learn from the collapse of Rome, or the Christianization of Rome. Right, that is how it happens. The only successful reconversion was the Spanish Reconquista. And, it was, even though they were Christians, they didn't reconvert Spain back to, Spain was a Muslim majority country, a hugely Muslim majority country. And it wasn't reconverted by turning the other cheek as Christ advised on the cross. Next.
Yes, and I think this is a good question. So I'm shortlisting this. Maddie. Right now there's a movement to unite the Dharmiks and RW. Okay, RW means, anyway, people are not clear about what RWs are. Right. It's happening on Twitter and will shift to groundwork and legal search too. Your opinion?
Boss, ये मैं ना 6 साल से देख रहा हूँ. अभी तक कुछ नहीं हुआ है. ट्विटर पे होते रहेगा, कुछ नहीं होगा ग्राउंड पे. ग्राउंड पे बस एक बंदा काम कर रहा है, जे साई दीपक, and there is nothing beyond that. ठीक है, and even that Mostly the government opposes him. So there is nothing. Don't go by Twitter. Twitter is an alternate universe. It doesn't happen. So if you think it's happening, I see these because I work in Delhi. I work with these people. I see nothing happening on the ground. So, and even the dharmics, they would much rather, what I see with the dharmics is they're more interested in a purity test. जैसे पुराने जमाने में शादी से पहले वो एसरटेन करना पड़ता था कि लड़की कन्या है या नहीं है, वैसे अभी प्योरिटी टेस्ट बना रहे हैं कि कौन हिंदू है नहीं है, उसी में आधा लोग तो तुमको खो जाएंगे. ठीक है, तो करते रहो. आई एम नॉट सीइंग व्हाट यू आर सीइंग.
Okay, next one. Oh, this is wonderful. I disagree with Abhijit on some issues, but I really wish we have Abhijit as leader of opposition in India. Oh.
I doubt very much I could keep. बॉस मेरा शक्ल देखो, मेरी जबान देखो, गाली बकते रहता हूँ, मेरा स्क्वीकी वॉइस भी है, की 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 की. मेरे लिए कौन वोट करेगा भाई? I would weaken the opposition even more. मैं सबको देख के चुटिया गांडू बोलते रहता हूँ, कोई मेरे लिए वोट नहीं करेगा. It will weaken the opposition even more. Get yourself a proper opposition leader.
No, you're better than Adhir Ranjan. That I can say.
अरे यार, अधीर रंजन कौन है यार? Like he doesn't even count. वो तो he's just a rubber stamp.
He's a Bengali.
But he's not half Tamil, no.
Okay, this is a very good question coming up. Ikram Ahmed. As an ex-Muslim, I have faced more intolerance from left liberals in India when compared to Bhakts, jihadi, neo-Nazis. How to deal with them?
So, being a homosexual myself, the hatred I have never faced homophobia in this country. All the hatred I've gotten has only been from the LGBTQ community because I'm seen to them as a traitor. And my answer to them is to just treat them like shit. They're third-raters, most of them, the so-called community leaders. They're pieces of trash. I don't take them seriously. I treat them like shit because they are shit. Why do you need an external source of validation? Look within yourself. If you're happy with yourself, that's it. Nobody should determine your self-worth except you. Don't seek validation from them. Screw them.
Good one. Anyway, shortlisted question. This one. Ikram Ahmed. Bharat Ved Prakash, we have so many people from so-called right-wing criticizing Modi government, but very few offer any practical alternative solution. Why is that the case?
Because Modi never listens. Never, ever listens. And this is becoming very, very problematic because you hear this within the government also. He simply does not listen. Today, I gave you two very tangible things. Judicial reform karo or police reform karo. He won't do it. So see, you only give advice to people who you think are going to take it. Otherwise, it's pointless. You can only take the horse up to the water. You can't force it to drink. चलो, he knows everything. वो तो अंतर्यामी है, त्रिलोकदर्शी हैं, विष्णु के 10वें अवतार हैं. वो जो भी कहेंगे वो तो यदा यदा ही धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम् धर्मस्य आत्मानं सृजाम्यहं परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. मोदी है. That is his self view. That is the view of his followers. Sambhavami yuge yuge. He is the Dashavatara. Congratulations. We are mere mortals. What advice can we give him?
Varun Bhaskar, can a party with professional capability with an intent to reform the government, local or national, actually win in India?
No. Because I'll tell you why. The level of knowledge of policy issues in India is so low. And the nuance is seen somehow as being, ये बंदा शिफ्टी है, ये काले सफेद में बात नहीं कर रहा है, ये shades of grey चलता नहीं है इधर. Very surprising because Hinduism is meant to be a religion of shades of grey. And yet, when you see internet Hindus, it's all black and white for them. Everything is black and white for them. There is no shade of gray for them. It doesn't exist. It's remarkable how, as a civilization that used to celebrate the shades of gray, we've become such a crude, crass, degenerate people who can't even appreciate basic shades of gray, and we have to have an enforced black and white on everything. And I find it sad, but it's also quite amusing. So no, there is no room for a professional party. Unfortunately, the bread and butter issues are so low. You can't have a professional party. Understand, we are a pre-industrial society. Education levels are very, very low. You're not able to fix your education system. So a pre-industrial society, a professional party works in an industrial or post-industrial society. It can fundamentally, electorally, anthropologically, logically, sociologically, it cannot work in a pre-industrial society. It's never happened. It's not going to happen. Next.
Okay, isn't the present judiciary biggest roadblock to national development? From Ram Setu to COVID control to
No.
central West.
See, never make this mistake. See, your argument that the judiciary is the biggest roadblock is the same as saying, see, all institutions in this country are corrupt, but army is not corrupt. ऐसे भी होता नहीं है. You can't build one thing that is excellent in a generally corrupt society. When a society is corrupt, all its institutions are a reflection of society, be it the judiciary, be it the army, be it the navy, be it the scientific community, be it the air force, be it the bureaucracy, whatever. Because you generally select from the population, those population's characteristics are broadly equal across all institutions. The problem of India not developing is multi-institutional. It is not the problem of any one single institution. What I told you was about risk accounting. Please do not confuse risk accounting in business with where the overall problem lies. Okay?
Okay, next one. Abhijit, what is your opinion on Yogi? Isn't he more courageous in dealing with jihadis and leftists than Modi?
Yes, he also seems to be more business friendly. The problem is, I am again not seeing the intelligence in approach. He's very direct and straight, but that doesn't, I don't know how it will translate to in the center. There's a lot more that could have been done in UP. I'm not seeing it translate. So, I'm still I like Yogi, but I'm afraid me liking Yogi would be like me liking Modi as long as he was Gujarat chief minister. That dissipated within 6 months of him taking over as prime minister. I don't want to hitch my hopes on one person ever again. It has to be a consortium of people, a pool of people that you value add.
Okay.
Next, Mallikarjun Valli. AIM convince 10 people on the streets, then lecture Modi. See, this is the classic thing. Lecture Modi, tum jaake this is what I told you. These are the kind of goofs that you have. Glanir bhavati bharata abhyuktanam dharmasya, वो तो दशावतार हैं. कौन उनको लेक्चर करने के लायक रखता है? हमको तो उनका चरणामृत रोज पीना चाहिए ना. करो. ये जैसे लोग ही हैं जिसके वजह से you're going to have no Hinduism left in this country after 100 years. कोई मंदिर भी नहीं बचेगा तुम्हारा. It will all be crushed and turned into dust. So congratulations. Please listen to that guy.
Okay, Rishi, you are a multifaceted person. Smoke and whiskey in Sham show, pro-government in Arab show, and now is it Coke or rum?
I'm not telling you. You figure it out. It's finished. It's not Coke or rum. It's actually Diet Coke.
So you're on a diet today. Anubhav Rai, till when youth of India has to tolerate the red tapeism of whimsical bureaucrats? What is counter for? I'm lucky. I'm no longer a bureaucrat. What is counter? I'm now an advocate. What is counter for lack of universal suffrage in 1946 election?
No. What is the connection between universal suffrage and whimsical bureaucrats?
None. You can take either one of them. Take the first part.
Yeah, I've answered this question so often. You're a third world country. Ultimately, your bureaucrats are just as good or as bad as your engineers. Okay? And you
Okay.
only need to look at certain engineering projects in this country to understand how bad they are. जो अच्छे होते हैं ना वो सब अमेरिका।
Now we will. My desk is telling me that there are so many questions that if you do not do a rapid fire, then we will end up midnight. So let's do a more rapid fire kind of answer.
Rapid. Sigma Wolf. Hinduism will survive if it transforms into a monotheistic religion. There are no gods but Ishvara and Krishna is his prophet. No, absolutely wrong. This is where you are horribly wrong. Do not confuse the tenets of the religion with the outlook of the religion towards other people. It has to do with tolerance, intolerance, not how the religion itself is structured. Next, Nishkant Sharma. Don't worry.
Don't worry, Amitra. A is A plus is Shah and A plus is Yogi.
Congratulations. But this is what people used to say about Ayatollah Khomeini, that he was going to come take over from the Shah and then a new democratic dawn was about to rise. This is what people used to say about Nelson Mandela. This is what people used to say about Robert Mugabe. Look where they all ended up. If that is what you think, congratulations to you. But clearly my history lesson has not made an impact to you because you never depend on an individual. Individuals will always disappoint you. You create an ecosystem. You create lots of people. But clearly, I mean, obviously, I'm talking in French or Latin because obviously that message isn't getting through to you people.
So, Bhatia, huge government salaries at lower level and zero accountability.
Why government salaries aren't huge, boss? I make 10 times as much as a secretary to government does. The highest paid fellow in the government of India makes about 2.36, 2.4 lakhs a month. You get a pittance. When my mother was collector of her first collector post, deputy collector Sherma Devi in Tamil Nadu, you know what her salary used to be in those days? 500 rupees a month. So these salaries are not, they are rock bottom salaries. Next, Bhaskar Tripathi, do we need, and that is why they want to make money through other means. Okay, Bhaskar Tripathi, do we need a civil war? I see no other option. By civil war, kai ka? कौन सा civil war? At least narrow the context down. So ask the question again, please, with a narrower context. What context you
is the ISI stamp on these protests not clear since they use same method against Nawaz Sharif with containers by Imran Khan's PTI in Pakistan?
No, it really isn't. You need to separate these things. There is a Khalistani infiltration in there. The Khalistanis use certain methods, which is very different. So no, there is no ISI stamp on this that I see. Divya Singh, is there a more intolerant substitute for Modi? Look, we're not looking at intolerant substitutes for Modi. We're looking at basic intelligent substitutes for Modi.
Next.
I think there are more intelligent substitutes for Modi. If they'll win the election or not, that is the question. Modi can win elections. Vinit Sharma. Hindus are the new Jews. No, we're not the new Jews because we're not half as intelligent as they are. We're not half as entrepreneurial as they are. We're not half as anti-socialist as, intelligent socialist as they are. Next, Chirag Chaturvedi.
Mahoday, के प्रति उनको चमचा कांग्रेसी कहा जाता है जो अपने आप को हिंदू कहने वाले भी निराश होते हैं. आपकी समझ में आया? मेरी समझ में नहीं आया.
मेरी समझ में भी नहीं आया.
चलिए आगे चलते हैं. Dev M, we need another Hindu right-wing party that creates pressure on BJP. Your thoughts? That's a good question.
Yes.
I will shortlist.
Yes, that is exactly what we need. Because right now the BJP is just convinced that every Hindu, which is true. Like, as much as I try voting for some other party, मैं उनको गाली देते रहूंगा. पर जब मैं वोट देने के लिए जाता हूँ ना, automatically finger nose hold करके I press the कमल का button. Well, मेरे constituency में ADMK होता है. तो ADMK का button, which I don't actually have a problem with. But this is what it is. So, you have to show somehow that you are not beholden to the BJP. Salience is just a short run. Great.
Salience is just a short break for Hindus. नहीं सुधरेंगे. By the way, I am openly bisexual. Though you
Wonderful.
got a company.
रामलला की श्रेय.
आज महाकाल.
हाँ, आज महाकाल है. Sorry, जय महाकाल.
Bharat Ved Prakash, is Hindu unity a mirage like Abrahamics? Do we have an end game for us to unite?
No, there is no such thing as Hindu unity. It simply does not exist. Right now, I'd say there are more Hindus that would sit down with Owaisi and drink a cup of tea with him than would accept me as a Hindu because I'm a beef-eating Hindu. Okay. Of course, that Owaisi also eats beef is a different matter. That doesn't matter to them. They'll say कि भाई ये देखो ये तो कम से कम खुला खुला मुसलमान है. या अभिजीत अय्यर मित्रा छुपा मुसलमान है, छुपा रुस्तम है. So no, there is no such thing as Hindu unity. It doesn't exist. It will never exist, as far as I can see, because this is this. There was this question: are Hindus the new Jews? No, but they're the old Jews. That they were absolutely convinced that when Hitler was saying that I'm going to kill you, they were convinced he was not going to kill them. Does tolerating
opposing views grows IQ of nation?
Yes, it does. But remember, opposing views is understanding where the line between opposing views and intolerance lies. There's a huge difference between that. In India, we don't seem to get that. Why? Because at the theoretical level, we're dunces.
Okay, I do agree with Abhijit on purity test. For example, vegetarianism, they think being veg is a purity test. Non-veg food is an integral part of non-Brahmins.
But see, why should it matter? Right? You go to tell the sadhus in the hills कि भाई ये हैश पीना छोड़ दो, थप्पड़ मारेंगे तुमको. ये हैश तुमको किसने बोला? ये तो महाप्रसाद है. ठीक है ना? So there's lots of things like that. आघोरी को क्या बोलोगे भाई? Are Aghoris not Hindus? So, this whole thing, this fixation with dietary laws, it shows you how the level of discourse. On one hand, we have the Gita. Every time I read the Gita, it speaks to me in a completely different way. And then I look at the online discourses of these internet Hindus and I'm like, हम कहाँ से इतने ऊपर थे, उधर से हम कैसे इतने नीचे आ गए? But this is the kind of shit that you passes off as Hinduism today. So what do? It is what it is.
Did the Roman pagans become extinct because they did not have teachers like Ramakrishna or Chanakya? Caligula was in illicit relations with own sisters. Nero did not know mother-to-son relationship. Did they not have teachers? Good question. Short list, please.
No. In fact, I would say that, they had very good teachers. The problem was that they faced the onslaught much earlier than we did. They didn't know what hit them. Because in their mind, they could never comprehend this kind of a constantly morphing religion. And for this, remember, we encountered these religions after they had already formulated. Rome encountered Christianity when it was still, it took a few 200-300 years after Rome became Christian for Christianity itself to consolidate and solidify its own set of beliefs.
Okay, next one. How do you see Dr. Swami's criticism of government, considering that most of us were his ardent followers?
I don't agree with a lot of what Dr. Swami says, but on his criticism of the government, he's mostly right. What is to disagree with? सर स्पीक इन हिंदी. हाँ बॉस, हिंदी में ही बात करेंगे, ठीक है ना? तो हिंदी में अलग प्रोग्राम करेंगे. पर अच्छी बात है, हमको ना प्रोग्राम हिंदी में ही करना चाहिए.
कर लेंगे. नहीं, एक्चुअली हमारे आजकल 60-70% हिंदी में ही हो रहे हैं, तो बीच में अंग्रेजी भी करना चाहिए. Okay, Sanjay ji, question for you. Okay, question for me. Abhijit's perspective seems very bleak, but I get where he's coming from. So what's your solution to bring in a Hindi renaissance? Well, I'm trying my bit through Jaipur dialogues. I keep talking, I keep motivating, and I hope to get the best solution. Of course, I am not as pessimistic as Abhijit. That I must tell you upfront. Harshad Mahalve, what if ultra right wing comes to power as an opposition?
भाई कौन है अल्ट्रा राइट विंग, मेरे को ये बताओ. इंडिया में अभी राइट विंग ही नहीं है. यू हैव सैफरन कम्युनिस्ट रनिंग. उनका आइडियोलॉजिकल प्लेटफॉर्म तो पूरा ही मार्क्सिस्ट है. कार्ल मार्क्स अगर जिंदा होता तो मोदी को देख के अंतरराष्ट्रीय मार्क्सिस्ट सम्मान देता उनको. He is just a Hindu who happens to have Marxist economics. So there is no, what do you mean by ultra right wing? You know, please ask me realistic questions. This is like asking me what will happen if an alien invasion happens. भाई मैं क्या जानूं, अभी तो एलियन है भी नहीं, पता नहीं है ना. Bhaktadas, was the USSR equipped to destroy, modernize in Eastern Europe? Yes.
Medieval Islamic society successful? Can that model be applied in India as well to deal with the radical intolerant people?
तो मैं ये हिंदी में ट्रांसलेट करता हूँ क्योंकि मैं इसका उत्तर हिंदी में दूंगा. जो यूएसएसआर ने
हिंदी में हम अलग से करेंगे, आप आराम से अंग्रेजी में दीजिए. नो वरीज. आप बिल्कुल अपॉलोजेटिक मत होइए. डोंट गेट इनटू अ कॉम्प्लेक्स. वी डू इंग्लिश एंड वी डू हिंदी. And we are not affected by people demanding either way. When we do in English, people say हिंदी में क्यों नहीं करते, हिंदी में करते हैं तो कहते हैं इंग्लिश में क्यों नहीं करते. इसलिए you remember that story, you remember that story, वो एक धोबी और एक उसका बेटा और उसका गधा.
हाँ, पर उसमें नहीं जाएंगे. पर हम सबसे बोलना चाहता है कि हम बंगाली इंटेलेक्चुअल है और बंगाली इंटेलेक्चुअल भीषण वो भारत रत्न है. तो हम बांग्लिश में भिंडी में बात करेंगे. तो वही क्या होता है कि देखो, मैं ये सब पुरानो जो यूएसएसआर में था उधर सब गया हूँ. कजाकिस्तान, किर्गिस्तान, ताजिकिस्तान, उज्बेकिस्तान, तुर्कमेनिस्तान. उधर जैसे सोवियत यूनियन ने कंप्लीट डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ आइडेंटिटी करके रखा था, ऐसे डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ आइडेंटिटी मैंने कभी भी कहीं भी नहीं देखा है. जब मैं बुखारा गया था, बुखारा सेंट्रल एशिया का काफी पवित्र शहर था. उसका नाम था बुखारा शरीफ, होली बुखारा. बुखारा में उसने देखा कि ये मोटा कुर्ता पजामा पहन के घूम रहा है.
शरीफ इज नॉट होली. शरीफ इज
इट नोबल. हाँ.
Sharif is, you know, these Ashraf characters, they call themselves Sharif. The upper class, the elite is Sharif.
हाँ, but anyway, Bukhara is considered the holy city out there. But anyway, so where was I? हाँ, तो उसने देखा कि ये बंदा की कुर्ता पजामे घूम रहा है. So he comes up to me and starts talking in broken English. और वो मेरे को, ये उलुग बेग का मदरसा था, जो उलुग बेग जो तिमूर का पोता था, उसने मेरे को मदरसे के अंदर ले जाके लंच के लिए वोडका और साला, वोडका पिलाया और साला. You know what sala is? You want to explain to them what sala is? It is preserved pork fat, which you apply on toast and eat. Imagine doing this in any other Muslim country. It simply won't happen. But सोवियत यूनियन ने क्या अचीव किया था कि ये पूरे जो तुर्किक लोग हैं, सब जो हिंदुस्तान का इन्वेजन हुआ था इसी एरिया से हुआ था. ये लोग खुद को तुर्किक भी मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं थे. वो अपने आप को यूरोपियंस मानते थे. अब तो वापस ठीक है, वो तुर्किक आइडेंटिटी आए जा रहा है, पर सोवियत यूनियन इतना सक्सीड कर चुका था, हैरानी की बात है. और जहां सोवियत यूनियन ने सक्सीड किया था सेंट्रल एशिया में, वो फेल हुआ था चेचनिया में. Chechnya never changed its identity, unlike Central Asia. और Central Asia में सब उज़्बेक, किर्गिज, तुर्कमेन, ताजिक, कजाक, सब अपने आप को यूरोपियन सेक्युलर मानते थे. They have no, I have not seen a religious, even people with the hat, नाम के वास्ते पहनते हैं, they are just not religious. So yes, the USSR is actually a brilliant way of studying it, and like I said, it is how one kind of intolerance can completely trump and transform another kind of intolerance. You have to be even more intolerant to the intolerant.
The next question is asking for a practical tip. I'm going to the US to do my master's in mechanical engineering at the University of Pennsylvania next year. How do I deal with the wokeism there? And how do I do something for India?
First of all, तुम पहले अपने बारे में सोचो, ठीक है? बाद में infiltrate.
If I go by the spelling, I don't think he's a Hindi-speaking person. So please stick to the script.
ठीक है, तो English.
You got into a complex. You got into a complex by somebody telling you कि हिंदी में बोलो. Please don't get into a complex. On Jaipur Dialogues, we don't get into these complexes.
ठीक है, तो you go there and you just keep your head low. There is no need to wear your political affiliation on your sleeve. There is no need to make your views known. You excel at what you're going there for. Do the mechanical engineering thing. It is the advice I give you is the same advice I give to gay people who are in the closet who approach me on how to tell their parents. Get financially independent, get financially successful, then do what you want. Udhar jao, focus on your studies, screw the books. You don't say that. I will say it, but you don't say anything of that sort. Tum haan sir, gender is a construct. Yes sir. There is no such thing as male. There is no such thing. The penis is evil. Penis must be banned. Yes sir. Very good sir. What are your pronouns sir? Sorry for calling you sir. What are your pronouns? Yahi karte raho. ठीक है ना? Blend in. When you enter the snake's den, you should also become a snake. So right now, do nothing. Baad mein karo. Next.
Okay, next is from bullet train to highways, restructuring to India, real time, the policy is still on paper. Middle class, the most well cheated, where there's no clarity in the government's working. I think it's been dealt with.
Yes. So Abhishek, that is you should shortlist this question. I'll tell you why this is an important question. Okay. You know what happens what happens is हिंदुस्तान में जब हम टू कोट जनरल करियप्पा जब हम मुफ्त हुए हिंदुस्तान में 10% was urban, 90% was rural. By 1991 we were around 35% urban, 65% rural, and the allocation of seats was like that. Today, even though the statistics don't show you that, the reality, if you do the geospatial imagery that IDFC Institute has done, you know, the lights blinking and all of that, as well as the Ministry of Urban Development's own statistics, you will see the reality that somewhere between 60 to 65% of India is actually urban, but it has only 200 seats in parliament. The remaining 350 seats, 353 seats, are controlled entirely by the rural population, which is about 35 to 40% of your population max. And as long as that is there, because the middle class is urban aspirational, you will never have your demand satisfied. It will always, the rural agriculturalists will always control the narrative and the discourse. And every political party will have to pander to that. Otherwise, they cannot come up. So that is your problem there. Okay. Next question.
Chirag says, sir, even today's government is also intolerant of healthy criticism, which is called Chamcha of Congress. I'm strong Hindu. I'm frustrated with government.
Yeah, nobody. I don't think it's. There's two things of the government. I don't think your thing. I'd like to bring some. I kind of agree with you. They are not intolerant towards criticism. They don't do things to you for criticizing them. The problem is they don't listen to you either. And the only people they listen to are people who are A-grade chatus. So if you criticize them, they won't listen to you. You have to say कि you know मोदी अगर बोलेंगे कि सन पूरब में उठता है और पश्चिम में बैठता है, then only they'll take you into government. And I can give you 1,000 examples of this. ठीक है? So they're not intolerant; they're just indifferent. Never confuse intolerance with indifference.
Okay, Swami Majumdar, in one of your old talks, you had mentioned you were once a communist. What made you change camps?
I hit puberty and I grew up. That's what made me change camps. You know, communism appeals to a very low level mindset. And once you get a bit of maturity, hopefully once you hit puberty and the hormones start setting in and hopefully your brain expands, Though, right now I'm at the stage where I look back at my communist beliefs and I'm like, bhai, मैं Homo sapien tha ya chimpanzee tha? Because, communism generally gels better with chimpanzees than it does with human beings. Same intellectual level, basically. Yeah, I grew up and puberty set in. Next.
Sir Mukesh from Punjab, always we discuss about problems, but what is solution and how we can survive and counter holy people, those dent our society. Solutions have been discussed.
Solutions have been discussed. Next.
AI. What is this AIM? This is a
Abhijit Iyer Mitra,
standardized.
AIM.
No, that is okay. But has it been patented? Because I've seen too many AIMs coming today. Macron is taking the steps.
निशाना लगाता हूँ, AIM.
Macron is taking the steps he's taking because he's aware of Le Pen lurking around. Can't we have a right-wing party focused on law and order and economic reform? Where?
Why?
Talking about
Who understands law and order and economic reform in this country? You tell me that. You've had that useless fellow Kaushik Basu, whose only memorable article that he wrote when he was chief economic advisor was saying, quote unquote, I kid you not, corruption is not such a bad thing. It can help the economy grow. This is an actual paper he wrote when he was chief economic advisor. You can check it out for yourselves. Okay. Now, when Kaushik Basu looks at the reform bill and says, कि भाई ये घटिया reform है. Where are your serious economists, boss? I've seen a lot of Paltu economists, because they get ignored by the government, they start criticizing the government and they suddenly become pro-farmer. But where is the intellectual honesty? And if you criticize the government, they don't want you. Even real criticism, because they think all criticism is you're a Congress chatu or whatever, or you're not noble enough to be brought in front of Modi. Okay? So there is no room for that kind of thing. We've tried it, it's not going to work. There is no salience of it, because even the understanding of economic affairs in this country, I mean, imagine when Lalu Prasad Yadav says, Garib khaye alua, Amir khaye halua, ye kaise sah sakat hai lalua, we all go giggle, giggle, giggle. But when Modi says, कैसे हो सकता है कि आलू और BMW पे एक ही टैक्स स्लैब लगे, बोलते हैं वाह क्या बोल दिया, शाबाश, ये तो अगला क्या अमर्त्य सेन है. And yet what he said is no different from what Lalu Prasad Yadav said, that his knowledge of economics is the same as Lalu Prasad Yadav's knowledge of economics. Let's be absolutely clear about it. Okay, just because you find him more politically palatable doesn't mean he's any more intelligent than Lalu Prasad Yadav. They're approximately the same. So no, I don't see, but this is the level of your policy discourse in this country. So no, I don't see any scope for it.
Okay. Fake news and propaganda play an important role in intolerance. How to deal with this?
They do not actually. What you need to have is, you need to have unfettered. See, this is what I keep telling you. Look at the macro. Look at the macro, because for every piece of fake news that they put out, you can also put out fake news. They are now using this fake news to control the right wing's ability to speak openly and freely, because they determine what fake news is. They control the institutions to determine what this thing is. Twitter determines free speech based on alt news fact checks or boom news fact checks. Okay, so never make that mistake. This is what I'm telling you. This is the kind of attitudes that lead us down a very, very dangerous path. Please start macroing. Next question.
Okay, next one.
Previous question, I've been watching many podcasts, many common issues on Hindu and Bharat related matters. I'm happy there's a churning started. Boss, ye churning nahi hai, ye talk fests hai. We are only talking about it, we're doing nothing. Anubhav Rai, there are certain regions in the world where the religions keep changing every 700 to 800 years, Central Asia and East Bengal. Any reason for this phenomenon? Yes, because that religion isn't deeply rooted. The economic circumstances change. Economic circumstances change. Religion is a way of life. So the religion has to change as a coping mechanism. So there's nothing you can do about it. So Central Asia, for example, used to be shamanistic, then it became Buddhist, then it became Muslim. So, it is what it is. On the other hand, another shamanistic country, Tibet, remained shamanistic, and it evolved into a mix of shamanism and Buddhism. Even now, you have the Burn religion in B-O-N-O with an umlaut in Tibet. People don't know about Burn, but Burn is the old shamanism that still exists. It's actually very fused with Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism is actually very little Buddhist and so much more of the pre-Buddhist shamanistic synthesis. Next question. Is the farmers' protest the Anna Hazare movement for the BJP? No, it is not. Because the Anna Hazare movement, it actually encapsulated proper sentiment against the government. The farmers' protests, I think had it been the Anna Hazare movement, you would have seen a lot more happening. I think what this will do is, it is more in the bad handling of it that the government will lose, rather than any particular affection that the farmers are gaining from the public. Because remember, Anna Hazare never blockaded roads, boss. This fellow is blockading roads. These fellows are blockading roads. Next question. Guess WT. I don't know what WT is. Modi is aiming for Nobel Prize like Nehru. Koi shak? Of course he is. He wants it. Ab kya karenge? Next. Though I agree with Abhijit on a lot of points, why does he seem so pessimistic about the future of Hinduism? Surely Hinduism has survived worse set of circumstances. No, we actually have not. What you're seeing now is the same circumstances combined with a technology onslaught. Okay, so no, I'm not optimistic at all. I think we're facing far more peril today than we ever were in the past. Because there's certain limits to what a pre-industrial society can do and what a post-industrial society can do. Sorry, we've gone one question forward. Can we go back to the previous question? Iske pehle question flash hua tha, we didn't take it. Yes. Gaurish Mandrekar. Oh, nahi. Okay, sorry. Next.
Yeah, next one. Hello, Abhijit. Why are you not wearing Marathi cap?
हैं? मैंने कब मराठी कैप पहना है? What is a Marathi cap? I don't know. Anyway, cool.
The
Next.
Gandhi cap is Marathi cap, basically. Pratik, I firmly believe that Pakistan, Parvakhand Bharat must be taken back by any means in the near future, because it is ours. Your take?
Absolutely not. You can't deal with your 180, 190 million strong minority right now. You want to add another 400 to 500 million more to that minority number, is it? Thank you. I'm very happy with India as it is. No, absolutely not. जो अखंड भारत की बात करता है ना, they are probably working as secret agents for Owaisi, because there is nothing that will make Owaisi more happier or more powerful than having Akhanda Bharat with its entire population intact. Next,
Pala Bolo with a Twitter for right wingers called Parler. Why is there no mention of this in Indian right wing media?
Look, I'm in Parler, but the point is I don't find it that engaging. So, there's no obligation on them. Tum phailao Parler ke bare mein. Ultimately, it's their editorial call. I don't think anybody big is on Parler. There is also an Indian army. The Indians have set up something called Teetar or something like that. And all the army and all of that have joined and they've set up. There's an Indian Twitter, that it's called Teetar, and the Indian Army Chief of Defense Staff, everybody have joined, but nobody's willing to go there because it's so useless. Next. So civil war is not a solution. Another Hindu
party will take a long time to effectively change. What do you think about OSINT and cyber warriors subverting social media and destroying current narratives?
I don't know in what context you're saying, but like I said, don't fall into this fake news trap. Fake news, like hate speech, is a left-wing construct. The moment you accept it, you go down the gutter hole of the left. Done. We've answered all questions.
Okay, so we have answered all questions. Now the final rites will be done, and we have to decide which question takes the cake. And so quickly we run through. I think, how many questions do you have, desk? 5. So 5 questions from which to choose the best question, and this is your call entirely. I will not assist you in this, except for
I
flashing.
can't see which 5 questions.
Yes, they'll come. They'll come. I'll repeat it here. Yeah, this is the first one. Salience we developed without government support. Next.
Okay. Next.
Ikram Ahmad, as an ex-Muslim, I face more intolerance from left liberals in India when compared how to deal with them. Okay. So, Bhaskar, Ikram Ahmad. Dev, and we need another Hindu right-wing party that creates pressure on BJP. Next. Did the Roman pagans become extinct because they did not have teachers? Avinash. Next. From bullet train to highways, so restructuring to India real time. Policy is still on paper. Okay, so these are the 5.
I'd say it's a tie between Ikram Ahmad and Abhishek Jain.
There can't be a tie.
ठीक है, तो इकरम को दे.
Okay, congratulations, Ikram Ahmad. And wonderful questions. And you know the protocol. Please contact us with your postal address, and we will send you, you know what? We'll send you this book, which I've got today. Unbreaking India. The first copy is with me. So thank you once again. Thank you, all of you. And Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Jai Mahakal.
Jai Mahakal.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.